So, do you remember this video when Tamara Bubble said this on the channel?
Streaming is not where the money is unless you're in the tens of millions of streams. But the beauty of music licensing is that you get that free promotion to get your songs that opportunity. I'm not spending my money on promoting my music. It's getting promoted through the music licensing.
Well, I remember it because I was there. So can sync licensing really be not just a way to make music income from sync royalties, from performance royalties, but can it also drive streaming to Spotify, to Apple Music, to Amazon? Can it drive YouTube? Well, that's what we will investigate and attempt to prove today on the very first installment of Music Income Science. Okay, so here we go. One of the first songs I had accepted to music libraries years and years ago was a song I literally wrote in the hot tub called The Rest of My Life. I talked about it on a video called The Yays, the Nays, and the Mehs, and I told the story. Well, if you didn't see that video, I found out that this particular song was featured on an episode last October of the hit reality show Love is Blind. It was season 5, episode 10, if you want to go watch it. Someone had commented on my YouTube about it, and I immediately went to Netflix to check it out and looked at that episode. And what do you know? It was right there at the beginning, right after the scenes from last week, front of episode placement, full blast, and over a minute long of music, both the vocal version and the instrumental. You can see it on the show. I will do a whole video on that journey, another science episode perhaps, how the song came about, how I got it into a library, all the way to Netflix, and then what I got paid, when I get paid, especially PRO. So we can see what a front of show, full volume, marquee placement on a popular show on Netflix pays. Now don't get your hopes up. The streamers pay a lot less than the networks. But what I have noticed is that song has been doing really well on Spotify. I had actually been noticing that over the past 6 months. I had been kind of seeing an uptick of that song, and it's one of the more popular songs that is on that library, and one of the more popular songs on my Positive Spin Songs brand on Spotify and others. And I had no idea why it was spiking. Well, I do now. Look at this data from Spotify for Artists on that song. Science. This is the line before the airing of that show. The show aired on October 13th, 2023. Look at the Spotify plays. I had almost nothing going on before that happened on that channel. And truly, I just throw the stuff up there just so it's on Spotify, or the library puts it up. That show is pretty popular, and people are catching up and still consistently watching it, and it continues to bring spins, even if I look into this year. And not just at Spotify. Science. Look at the data from Apple. It's the same thing. You can see the line of nothingness, and then boom, that episode hits, and Apple stats take off. And even Amazon for Artists, I even went to the Amazon for Artists data, and it is the same thing. As you can see here, there is a seismic shift starting at the first airing of that episode that directly correlates to streaming numbers going bonkers. Now, it may not be bonkers for you, but it is bonkers for me to get 50 to 100 streams a day on any of these streaming type of sites, because I don't really push it that much as an artist. And people are Shazamming too. Science. If you don't know what Shazam is, I'm not talking about this guy.
I'm bulletproof.
You're dead.
Hey, what's up? I'm a superhero.
I'm talking about people who use the Shazam app on their phones to listen to what is playing and then to find out what song is playing, and then they can go listen to it on a streaming service like Spotify, like Apple Music, like Amazon, or YouTube Music. And speaking of YouTube, they are also coming to a YouTube video that I made years ago. Look at this telling data. Science. Even these stats show views going up at that very first airing, which leads me to have to thank this YouTube commenter for letting me know in the first place. Thank you so much to Brittany Lane, who let me know about this placement. Tell her what she's won, Johnny. There's nobody there. So that's my data, nerds. Pretty cool, huh? Tamara Bubble was right. And somewhere she's sitting around going, I knew I was right.
Like a lot. That means a lot.
Sync does move the needle, especially when it is on a show that has the same audience that uses streaming audio. So, for instance, this is a show that likely has a somewhat young demographic, Love is Blind, and it makes sense that they would use something like Shazam to go and find the song on Spotify, on Apple Music, on YouTube. Now, we'll see how this moves the money needle down the line, so be watching for that video. Make sure you subscribe because I'll be getting to that data as well when we get there. For that, that's Music Income Science. Goodbye, nerds.